Hey everyone, what's up? Startup Survival here, and this review is going to be about the Spyderco Delica versus the Benchmade Mini Griptilian. But before I get into that, I just want to talk about what makes a perfect EDC knife. To me, a perfect EDC knife is going to be small, light, dependable, with good materials and good construction. Here's just a couple options to throw on the table. The Opinel number 7 is sort of a more traditional, kind of an older knife made of carbon steel. You can see there's a bit of discoloration happening there, so I used it to cut up some wet stuff. And here of course is the Solid Flash 1. I'm not showing these knives because I think they're the best EDC knives. I'm just showing them because I think they're perfectly good alternatives to consider to either the Mini Grip or the Delica. Or maybe you don't even need to have a dedicated knife at all. Maybe you can have something like this Victorinox Huntsman. That's a debate worth having, whether you even need an EDC knife or whether the knife on a sort of a multi-tool will serve that purpose for you. Lots of different thoughts on that, and I'm not going to say which one is right or wrong. It depends it's all up to the person, right? But the Delica 4 from Spyderco and the Mini Griptilian from Benchmade represent two of the best small folding EDC knives. Like I said, they're light, they're small, they're dependable, and they've got good materials and good construction. So the whole Delica versus Mini Grip thing is a bit of a debate online from what I can tell. Most people, I think, acknowledge that these are both good knives, but I think people who have owned both, or maybe just one or the other, have a preference. It's a very sort of opinionated community out there about these two knives. So let's compare them in a few different ways and just sort of see the advantages and disadvantages, and maybe it'll help you make a decision if you're thinking about buying one of these knives. So first thing we can talk about is, of course, the blade steel and the blade shape. So on the Delica, you've got VG10, which is a Japanese-made steel. The blade shape is sort of a leaf, drop point, FFG grind, and of course you have the jimping back there on the blade. In terms of size and everything, I think they're very similar, but the Mini Grip has the American-made 154cm blade steel, and this edition that I have here is the Saber grind. I personally prefer the FFG just because of looks. There are some people that say there's a slight performance advantage because it's got that thinner grind that's going to more easily pass through material. I don't find that to be a huge issue one way or the other. They're both good, but like I said, if I had to pick one, I think I would go with the FFG just because of the way it looks, if for no other reason. Now let's talk about the lock and the speed of the knife. This Delica has a back lock, which is a sort of a more traditional folding knife lock, and I think it's very dependable and very good. Some people say you have to close it and open it two-handed. I disagree. I think with proper technique you can get it down to one-handed opening pretty easily, and it's nice and safe. In terms of speed, I would say it's pretty good actually in terms of opening, but then the closing, of course, is a little bit tedious, right? It's not the fastest knife in the world to close, but it's not a deal breaker at all. On the Mini Grip, you have the Axis lock, and I can't say enough good things about the Axis lock. It's very fast, it's very ergonomic and easy to use, easy to open, easy to close. It's pretty much the best overall lock out there, in my opinion. It does have one sort of flaw, and I'm pretty sure every knife lock has a flaw, or they can be made to fail. This has two tiny Omega springs inside there that keep tension, I guess, on the lock. And people say those are delicate and they can break sometimes. I've never found that to be an issue, and I've had a few different Benchmades now, including, of course, the 940 Osborne. All of them are still super fast, working great. So if I had to pick one of those locks, I think I would probably pick the Axis lock. I have nothing against the lock back, but I just love how fast this is and how easy it is to operate. It's just fantastic. In terms of deployment speed, I think that the Axis lock also it wins. The thumb stud and the Axis lock are going to beat the spider hole and the back lock. There's variations on this knife, which I should probably mention. There's variations on both of them in terms of colors, grinds, and steels, I believe. So anyways, this one, let's just compare the ones we have on the table. super fast, like one of the fastest knives I've ever had for sure. And this one is not like the fastest knife I've ever had, but it's fast enough, you know what I mean? So in terms of speed, I guess the Mini Grip wins, and it wins with the lock as well. What about the handle and the ergonomics? This is another important point of distinction, and I just want to spend a bit of time on it so everybody's aware. The Delica just has a slightly longer handle. I'm not sure if I'm going to be able to line this up correctly so you're going to be able to see it or not, but I think it's pretty visible there actually. You see how there's sort of like that extra ½ inch or so of handle, and when you get the handle in your hand, which is where it's supposed to go, of course, I just find it fits a bit more naturally for me. I don't run out of real estate on the handle. I have enough here to put all my fingers on there and put my thumb on the jimping where it's supposed to go, and it just works well. The Mini Grip, the handle's a little bit rounder. You know, you see how I can roll it on the desk there versus this one that's just kind of flat and just locks in. So it's a little thicker, a little more rounded, and it's shorter overall. So I find that if I try to fit it in my hand and use the jimping up here on the top, I find that I run out of room. You see how my baby finger has nowhere to go. I find that a more comfortable way to grip it is just like this kind of caveman style, and make your cuts from there. And if you need to use your thumb on top or whatever, do that. I find that to be more comfortable, but once again, you're not going to be doing extended cutting with either of these knives, I don't think anyways. If you are, like I said, go for something bigger, right? So that being said, I think both handles are fine. I just have to give a slight edge to the Delica, especially because of the traction involved, right? You know, it fills the hand better, not only that, but this bidirectional texturing is pretty awesome. Some people don't like FRN handle knives, and you know, that's certainly their right. I'm not going to tell everybody what they can like or what they can't. A lot of people have an affinity for G10 handles, but what I would say and just point out here is that G10 smooths out over time, in my experience. Like, look at how smooth this is. You know, it doesn't really do much in terms of traction at all, whereas this FRN handle maintains its traction because it's molded in there sort of, and the way it's carved out, I guess, is more loosely carved, so it's more aggressive in some ways. But yeah, I just find that that the handle of the Delica is awesome. The one on the Mini Grip is pretty good. You know, you get some grippiness there, just like the name says. But like I said, it's just a little bit cramped for me. But still, it gets the job done, right? But the pocket clip, I would say, is pretty much equal on those two knives. Wouldn't you say? They look incredibly similar. They're just both matte black clips that sort of bury in the pocket at an appropriate length. They both carry very well, and yeah, they're just nice and simple. They're not crazy pocket clips. You know, I'll throw in the SOG one. A lot of people really like this one because it's deep carry. To me, it's like a little bit crazy looking, don't you think, compared to these like simple black clips? You know, one more I'll show you is, of course, the medium Voyager clip. I don't mind it that much, I guess. Like, some people really hate this clip because it's so it has so much tension, and underneath the clip it's so aggressive with that handle material that it rips up your pants, which neither of these knives will do. I'll say that right now. Especially the Delica, because you can see it on this side. It's got that smooth little logo right there, and whichever side you decide to put the clip on, then that is going to be under there, so it's going to provide a smooth surface, not to rip your pants up. The Mini Grip doesn't really have that, but I've just found that the clip is attached loosely enough that it doesn't seem to make a difference. You can see there's a little bit of space under there, right? So both good clips. You know, the one thing about the Spyderco is you can go 4-way positionable, tip up, tip down, left and right. The Mini Grip one, you can only go tip up, but you can still do it left and right. So they are fully ambidextrous knives, and that's pretty cool because something like a liner lock, you know, obviously I can get the job done with my left hand, but it's more ideally suited to a right-handed person, right? So last thing, as promised, I'm going to talk about is the price, and I'm going to try not to go on a rant against Benchmade and Spyderco now because I see that the price of their knives is climbing steadily. But yeah, the price of these knives is something to consider before you buy them, because there are cheaper knives out there. You know, this one is probably half the cost of either of those knives, and I think it's not a bad knife, I guess. Not my favorite. I don't think it's anywhere close to being in the class of those two knives, but that's just me. You know, an Opinel, maybe that's 12 or 15 bucks, and it'll get the job done, and it'll get done well, right? You know, so why would I pay $75 for a Delica, or why would I pay $120, $130 for a mini grip? Well, I don't know, because I like knives, I guess, and I want to have lots of different knives. But that's not the only reason. You know, they are good quality. Like, let's go back to what I started with. They're light, they're small, they're dependable, they have good materials and good construction, right? They're pretty much perfect EDC knives. If you want a dedicated locking folder, I don't think it gets much better than what you're looking at here. But there are options out there for less money, right? I mean, here's the persistence. I think this knife competes with either of those. It's made in China. It's got, you know, a lesser blade steel on it. It's got a liner lock, but it's still a good little EDC knife. And this is what, like $30 or $40, something like that. So half the price of the Delica, and, you know, 1/3 or 1/4 the price of the mini grip. I think the pricing on this little knife is a little crazy, to be honest with you. For an FRN handled knife, you know, oh, it's made in the USA, so what? You know, I honestly don't care where the knife is made. I just care about quality, like, and good materials. Like I said, country and manufacturer comes beyond all that stuff. So I don't know. I would like to see this as a $75 knife. That's what I think it's worth. That's probably never going to happen because Benchmades are expensive, right? Just a little story about this knife. I actually bought it used off a dude on Craigslist, and I got it for 80 bucks. If I was to buy this new, it would cost me an extra $50 to buy this knife new, and I just think that's crazy. For $80, it's still expensive, but I would not have bought it unless I'd find it used, because I don't know, I can't justify paying over $100 for this knife, I'll just say that. They're both great knives. You know, like I said, it's sort of a Coke and Pepsi, Chevy, Ford, you know, whichever side of the fence you land on, you know, it's still the right side. They're both great knives. If you have a preference, or if you have any thoughts about it, you know, if you've tried both of them or whatever, let me know which one you like better. And let's have a fun debate in the comments. Thanks for watching.